Well, good morning, everyone. It's been a minute since I did one of these videos, and I've had this one in the works for a while. I just haven't had a chance to do any videos. I've been so busy. I have been doing blogs and making new items from my shop and just life stuff, right? So today I wanted to take a few minutes. This shouldn't be a long video. It's just wanted to show you how to make a triskele. A lot of people think this is an Irish thing. It's not. It's not a Celtic thing. It predates Celtic people by probably a couple thousand years. This symbol has shown up in monolithic, megalithic stone carvings, 5,000, 6,000 years ago. So it's ancient. It really is an ancient symbol. So today I wanted to take a moment and just show you how to do a basic triskele, and then you can do whatever you want with it after that. I just kind of threw these together like pretty quick. They're not works of art, as you can tell. But I just kind of wanted to walk you through how to draw one of these and have it look symmetrical. So there's different methods. I know some people use triangles and things like that to do it, but today I'm going to start with a circle, and then we're going to divide the circle up, and then we're going to draw these loops. So what you're going to need to do this, you're going to need one of these. If you don't have one of these, 2 pencils and a piece of rope that you can adjust. You'll need probably a couple pencils, different kinds. I'm going to start with an HB to draw my lines, just because I need you to see them. But if you're drawing the initial lines, like I always say, draw them light, because they will be erased. And the darker they are, the harder they're going to be to erase when you do your final design. You'll need a straight edge, and well, that's about it. Maybe, an eraser. If you're stylizing it at the end, you might want a blendy stump. That's about all you're going to need. And some grid paper. You don't even need grid paper, actually. You can just use regular paper. Alright, so we're going to start with a circle. I've already planned this out, so I'm going to do this relatively dark. You do this circle as dark or as light as you want. Now, if you're going to incorporate it into your final design, you can draw it darker. If it's going to be erased after you draw your triskele, then draw it light. Okay, so we have our circle. We got to mark the center. That's the center. We're going to divide this circle in half. Again, I'm drawing dark guidelines so you can see it on the camera. Alright, now we're going to take our compass, going to put it down at the bottom of that vertical line, and without making any adjustments, you're going to use the radius from the outside of the circle to the inside of the circle, and you're going to make a tick mark on either side of that line, just like that. So you have one here and one here. We're going to use those marks, those intersections. So where this intersects, line it up with the center of the circle, and we're going to draw a line through the center like that. Go to the other side and do the same thing. Make sure it's lined up. or the loops will be kind of funky if it's not lined up. Alright, so erase the tick mark there, we don't need that. So what you end up with is a circle that's divided into six pie slices. Alright, what I'm going to do for you, you don't need to do this, but what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to mark the lines that we are going to be using. I call it the upside down Y. Okay, and then the other ones can be, we'll make them later because I want them there a little bit, but I don't want them that dark. Okay, of course hairbrush is great for getting rid of all the crap you don't want. Alright, now we have our upside down Y. We're going to divide this Y in half, which means we got to find the midpoint. So you can use a ruler and you can measure it, or you can use a technique that I've used before. I have a tutorial on that in my playlist somewhere. So you open your compass up to slightly more than half of the distance of your line being from here to here. Alright, draw a curve mark, don't do it dark because you will erase it. Alright, just like that, you go the other end of the line and you make tick marks again that cross each other. Just like magic, when you line up where they both intersect, you are going to get the center of that line. Erase your tick marks, you don't need them anymore. Okay, and now we're going to just use our compass, because that's like, so we don't have to keep doing that. We're going to use our compass to mark the other lines. Okay, so each one of these three lines is divided in half. Now we have to take each section and divide it in half again. So to do that, again, we're just looking to find I'm doing two at once. Right? Alright, down here we're going to find where that crosses, where that crosses. So now we have the center of the line for these. That's where these cross, that's where these cross. There's the midpoint between this and this. We'll do the bottom part. And then we'll line that up. And that's the center line there. Okay, so what we end up with is 1, 2, 3, 4 equidistant sections of a line. We're going to use our compass to make sure we transfer those measurements to the other two lines. Hopefully I'm not babbling because, you know, I haven't done this in a while and I haven't done these videos in a while. Alright, so that takes care of the top part. Now we need to do the bottom part. Okay, that's about right. Okay, erase any guidelines we don't need because they just confuse. And what you should be left with is your upside down Y. All three lines are broken up into equidistant little sections. Okay? There's going to be one more added, but we'll get to that in a moment. Alright, so your first loop, if you take a look at this drawing, your first loop is going to go from here to here. So the center of the circle to the circumference of the top of the circle, right, to the diameter. So in order to do that, we need to find the midpoint, which is right there. Okay? So let's place our compass right there in the middle. And then we're going to make sure we are lined up with the center and the top of our circle. And then we're going to draw I can get this thing to draw. There we go. There's your first loop. You're going to do the same thing with the other two lines. Start in the center. And then the third one. All right. So let's recap. We divided these upside down Y's into 1, 2, 3, 4 equidistant line segments. We need to find the middle of this line to draw the first loop. So we use this line. This is the center point between the circumference and the center of the circle. We put our compass here and we draw our loop on the one side. Now make sure when you do this, unless you intend to mix it up, that you put your loops all on the same side of your line. Okay, so if we got that, we can move on to the next one. Now the next one is going to be, the next largest loop is going to be from here to here. So if we look at this diagram here, it's going to be from the center of the circle, or the edge of the circle, to this first line segment that we have there, this, right? Circle, circumference to this line. Now, we don't have the center point for this. We're going to have to draw in another point so we can make a center point for that. Okay? So to do that, remember we're doing, if I can remember, I will make sure that I put in somewhere down below in the comments, I will put in how to find the center point of a line without having to measure, because that's what we're doing. Now you can measure. If this is too much for you, you can measure. Make sure that your lines are specifically a certain length. That way you can measure it. But that's what I'm doing when we're doing. You're finding. So in other words, all right, I'm going to go on a tangent. Let's say I have a line. All right. It's not a whole number line. It's not going to be easy to measure. Maybe we don't even have a ruler. How do you find the midpoint for this line? You place your compass or 2 pencils with a rope, open it up, put 1 point on the one end of the line, you open it up to a little more than half. And then you draw yourself an arc on either side of your line. Then just switch to the other side, to the other side of the line, and cross your arcs. Where they cross is the center of that line. Okay? I do have a tutorial, but that's essentially what it is. That's what I'm doing with these line segments. Once you learn it, it's really quick. It's a real quick way to just, so you don't have to pull out your ruler and measure and stuff like that. Okay. All right. We went off on a tangent. Let's figure out where we were. Okay, midpoint. Let's line this up properly. It has to go from the outside of the circle to this line. The outside the circle to this line. Okay? And it'll be on the opposite side of the line than the first one, so that it forms a loop. All right? What we're going to do is we're going to measure, we're going to use our compass to copy that midpoint onto our other lines, so we don't have to do that again. All right. All right, midpoint. And it's going to go from that line I'm just kind of thinking. Sorry, I went radio silent there for a minute. I was thinking about something. All right. So there's your second loop for that. And there's your third loop. All right. So we see that it's starting to turn. The next loop that we have is going to go from here. It's going to continue from here, and it's going to go to this line right here. Continues from here and goes to that line from there. Okay? So we find the midpoint, and we line it up so that they go where they're supposed to go. Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to continue that loop. And then the last one, well, not the last one. Ah! See what happens when you try to do it fast? I let go. All right. Let's line that up a little bit better. These compasses don't like tight angles either, so. All right. It's a little sloppy, but we'll fix it in the finishing stage. Or now. That bothers me. I can't deal with that. Okay. So I'm not going to use the compass for the rest of it because it's just going to be too small and too awkward to work with. But essentially what we're going to do is the next section is going to be from here to here, and then from here to here. Okay? I'll show you back on the drawing. From here to here, and then from here to here. I'm going to freehand this. Hopefully it turns out okay. I'm going to start here, just because I think I can get a better, okay? So this, and when you do these loops, remember that you're alternating. When you do the one side, you're going to flip over to the other side to do the next smallest semicircle, and it's going to continue on in a spiral, okay? All right, and then I'm kind of doing this backwards. I'm doing the last tiny spiral because I feel like I can get a better arc. And essentially, that's it. You can now stylize this any way you want. You can create loops in there if you like, if that's your thing. And you give it a little bit of a loop there. So you can see it's starting to take form there. Let's erase these, and this is where I tell you these were guidelines. So again, when you draw in guidelines like this, you draw them much lighter than I did. But I did it that way because I need the camera to see it. And what you're left with let's see if I can do a little bit of freehand with this. Some days I'm alright with doing these curves, and some days not so much. Thank God for compasses. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, if anything. I'm thinking that I might use this this triskele style on maybe a plate. I like the roundness of it. It's very hard to get it to be pristine, get absolutely pristine, pristine lines, unless you do it digitally, or unless you got really good hands. Okay, so now you can see it, and I think that's about as far as I'm going to go with that. You kind of get the idea, right? She says as she starts. So let me know if this was helpful to you. I figured it was about time I did this video because this is like one of those iconic kind of symbols that you see all the time, and they're really tricky to draw. I have tried to draw them freehand, didn't turn out well. So anyway, there are other ways to do it. If you look at this, it is, I think it's an equilateral triangle. So you can use a triangle to draw this. If I can find that technique somewhere and sort of figure out how I can regurgitate it to you, I might do that in the future. But for right now, I think you get the point. You'll end up with something like this, and you can do whatever you want with this. You can do a border around it. You can add stuff in the middle. You can make the swirls themselves really fancy like this. I doubled these, tripled maybe these lines up when I did this. Yeah, you can do a lot with it. It is very tricky to draw, and it's very tricky to keep it neat and clean, but that's basically how you draw one. So let me know what you think, and leave some comments for me, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I do have another video that I'm going to try to get out today. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I do have one more video scheduled that I would like to do for you today. And other than that, have a great day, and happy drawing.